Hello, and welcome to Revamped, a rewatch podcast that revisits my top favorite shows and movies. I'm your host, Brandon Alexander, joined by my co-host,
Courtney Autumn.
Venture with us as we set our sights on the infamous Hellmouth to cover 90s cult classic, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Follow along from the beginning, spoiler-free, as Courtney views the show for the first time and I revisit the series for new takes and a fresh perspective on its narrative.
Each season, every episode, in order, we will follow Buffy Summers and her friends to examine their character development, the show's underlying themes, along with its major story arcs, all while engaging in conversations, sharing our own authentic thoughts and feelings to what's unfolding before us.
So sharpen your stakes, load your crossbows, and join us as we explore the supernatural world of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Let's get into the episode. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Buffy on Revamped. Today we're going to be covering Season 2, Episode 4, Inca Mummy Girl. It originally aired on October 6th of 1997 and was written by Matt Keane and Joe Rankmeyer, directed by Ellen S. Peressman. We got some guest cast as we have been talking about for Season 2. I think it's 𝒕𝒐𝒊𝒑 or 𝒕𝒐𝒊𝒑. I don't really know. We're going to go with 𝒕𝒐𝒊𝒑 maybe. But she plays 𝑚PATA. And Jason Hall is going to be playing a new character, Devin, that we have in the Buffyverse. And then Danny Strong as Jonathan Levinson. And quite possibly the best introduction ever. We have Seth Green entering as Oz, who will be a main cast member. I wouldn't say main cast member, but they're guest starring roles reoccurring from this point pretty much moving forward. I won't say how long because, spoiler territory, but obviously 𝑚PATA is only here for the one episode or whatever her name was. 𝑚PATA is gone in 15 minutes of the episode or 10.
True. And got his identity stolen.
It's not the 𝑚PATA, it's the 𝑚Pasta. The 𝑚Pasta, if you know what I mean. But either way, getting back on Seth Green, it was hard to keep him under wraps. Get it, mummy wraps, like I was just in. You get it. But no, for Bruce Seth Green, every time I was saying it, you were like, Seth Green, aka blah, blah, blah. And I was like, ooh, she doesn't really know it, but she's going to know it. And episode 4, I was like, keep an eye out, wait till we're here. And here we are. So now we have Seth Green here. And
I was excited to see him, honestly. I was like, ooh, yes, I didn't expect this. And then, never mind, I'm not going to go there, but yeah, we'll get there. I'm excited.
All right, great. Well, in this episode of Buffy, it's Cultural Exchange Week. While on a school trip to the museum, a Sunnydale High student accidentally breaks the seal on a mummified girl's remains, awakening her. Using his life force energy to restore herself and Buffy's unidentified exchange student, she assumes his identity, heading home with the Slayer. Now befriended by the gang, as Xander falls head over heels for her, we start to suspect her true nature and learn she is desperate for a normal life and will go to any lengths to avoid being forced back into her tomb.
And then that's
it. All right, we're officially here. Inca Mummy Girl time. So now you 100% know exactly what is going on in this episode.
Obviously.
How many times do you think I'm going to say mummy in this episode? Because I noticed I've already said it, so I want someone to be counting.
We need a tally.
Yeah, someone while you're listening to this, count the times that we've said mummy and send us a message and let us know.
Make it a drinking game.
Including all the 4 times that I just said it in the last minute. I very much like the premise of this one because we haven't dealt with mummies before, and I think it's one of those cliche tropes. Giles in the first episode, he's piling all those books on Buffy, and he's like,
things gravitate towards it that you might not find elsewhere.
Like vampires.
Like zombies, werewolves, incubi, succubi. Everything you've ever dreaded was under your bed, but told yourself couldn't be by the light of day. They're all real.
So now we're here with mummies being one of the horror tropes that we're dipping into. Another supernatural classic. I love the film The Mummy, and it obviously came after this show it had aired, so they were on the mummy train first. You get the scenes of 𝑚PATA sucking the life force from people and draining them out, and that's how the guy, or Imhotep or something like that in the movies, he actually pulls life force energy to restore himself from his mummified state. If you've seen the movie, I'm assuming you have, because everyone's seen that Brendan Fraser flick. Super good movie. I like the second one too. We're not going to talk about the one with The Rock in it. Thankfully, Dwayne Johnson's not in this episode as 𝑚PATA, but Fun fact, though, I used to be obsessed with ancient Egypt whenever I was in 6th grade, because that's when we really went into like ancient history as far as studies. I remember there was a whole lesson in our history book on Egypt, and I got obsessed. I was always going to the library, checking out books on mummification, and I was so obsessed with them embalming the bodies and putting their things in urns. Here I am, a full blown witch in my lifetime, and now I see why I liked all this mysticism that there is around ancient Egypt and stuff. So I've always been a fan of the mummy trope, but not in like a huger capacity like I am vampires. For the episode, nothing really falls short in this one because it really does have everything that we would expect a Buffy episode to have, especially Monster of the Week themed. I love the introductions that we get in this one too, like Jonathan and Oz. We were just, goo-gooing over them a second ago. Not really Jonathan, I wish, but he wishes. He's kind of dorky, as you can already kind of catch on. The mirroring that Buffy has with Ampada this episode, I feel, is genius, because we bring back the central theme of Buffy's chosen status and parallel it with the Incan princess sacrifice that we get and are told about. She was chosen to give up her life as the sacrifice. Buffy has to basically still live her life, but it's the same type of sacrifice that she has to do. So we get that, and we have a section on metaphor actually this time because this episode doesn't deal with like crazier stuff that's going on in the actual story arc. What else did I want to talk about? Oh, I was pleasantly pleased with how this episode had a sub focus on helping Willow start to move on from Xander. Thank fucking God,
Yes.
because it just needed to happen. And I have stuff to say whenever we get to it. But speaking on Xander, I do believe we are on theme with keeping up with the Xander attracts demonic love partners, because this is the 4th episode of season 2, and in season 1, our 4th episode was Teacher's Pet. And we get the callback and mirroring from this episode to that one, where not only is Xander in a spot of danger, his love interest is in it for another type of gain and is an otherworldly being. I definitely prefer Ampada to Miss French, I will say.
Yeah, 100%.
She was really pretty too, just saying. I mean, both women are gorgeous, but regardless, my take for the episode is that it keeps you wondering the whole time through on what's going on. How are they going to connect the dots together to kind of figure out that this is Ampada by the end, especially watching it as a first-time viewer, which I'm excited to hear your take on it.
Well, I definitely feel like this was the first episode, to me anyways, that it took this long for them to really start connecting all the dots and be like, oh wait, okay, we know what's going on now. Like, meanwhile, this bitch is around constantly, like living with Buffy. So I was just waiting for the moment, and I kept thinking it was going to come way sooner than it did, and it didn't. And I was like, I think this is the most oblivious everyone's been for the longest amount of time through an episode, as far as like just not at all paying attention to what is obvious to the rest of us. But also, I questioned, when is Xander going to like stop assuming that a new fresh meat kind of person in their like school or presence is not to just immediately be assumed that like they're, number one, don't date them, and number two, they're probably sent here from the hell mouth, so it's either a praying mantis or a mummy or a vampire or whatever, a hyena. Like, time to really be a little bit more mindful about what we're dealing with on a regular basis for Xander.
No, everyone's got to have a security check, which is funny. He does, like, we'll bring it up later for sure too and talking more about it, but he does make the comment about it, and it's like more jokey, but if he had actually leaned into it for a second, then maybe it could have unfolded for her to be like, well, actually, Xander, since you're telling me all this truthful stuff, I can go ahead and expose some layers of my onion for you as well. And it's fun, like, watching this episode through, because you're waiting for all of those elements to occur for our gang to catch up, because as the viewer already made aware in the beginning of what exactly is going on and who this person, this pasta is. So
Yeah.
I
I enjoyed it. It was super duper fun, and it just was a good break from the seriousness of where we just got introduced to Spike and Drusilla and all this really more intense energy. So it was a good neutral episode that was more serious, because serious shit was going on and people's lives are always at stake, but it was more fun and lighthearted in the sense of like, there's no doomsday ahead kind of thing, or we're not preparing for another meeting with the master or something like that.
Yeah, it's a low-key fun, just Monster of the Week filler episode.
Yeah.
But it does help I wouldn't say help drive the story along, but we get more kind of cranking it back to Buffy for this episode. It's kind of giving a more serious adult version of Never Kill a Boy on the First Date in ways, just because of the fact that Buffy wants to go to the dance and do all these normal things, but she really drops it and puts it on the back burner really quick. And it's just like, okay, well, this is happening now, so this is actually taking precedence, and she just rolls with that, which is really cool. That's a different change on Buffy, and obviously that's just showing season 2 that she's already grown immensely from where she used to be on wanting to have a normal life, especially since 𝒕𝒓𝒄𝒄 is here mirroring her in that aspect, saying that I just want a chance at a normal life because I wasn't gifted that either. I had to give up my life also at 16, and in a way harsher way than Buffy had to, obviously not with Prophecy Girl in context, because technically Buffy could and should and would have stayed dead in that episode, and then that would have been her fate sealed there as well.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, great. Well, let's go ahead and get into the episode.
In every generation, there is a chosen one. She alone will stand against the vampires, the demons, and the forces of darkness. She is the Slayer.
Ooh, a field trip. We're on another field trip. So here we are right back at the pack kind of vibes. Because first, if you're really like a Buffy person that's getting sucked into the show, you're probably like, oh, fuck, do you remember the last time we went on a field trip in this show? What happened then? Xander surely doesn't, air quotes. But obviously it was at the zoo. And this time, though, we're at a museum. So what could possibly go wrong?
Right.
I want to know if this is in Sunnydale or if they took a bus trip to somewhere else, because this town now has a big ass museum that's got full on, dinosaur displays. Like, obviously they probably had to go to a museum in Los Angeles or somewhere where they were actually like taping, because I'm pretty sure Sunnydale does not have fucking dinosaur bones built up in this damn museum, because they all walk in the front of it and it's got all these huge things and all these different places. Obviously this is a traveling event that goes around, and I don't know if that's what museums do. I can't tell you the last time I
Like an
went to a
exhibit.
museum.
Yeah.
Exhibit, thank you. I don't go to museums, thank you. We open up seeing our gang is on the way to enter the museum, talking about the culture exchange that the school is having, featuring the exhibit. I wrote it in here. But it features the exhibit, a dance, because we got to have a school dance every 4 episodes. And of course, we also have the student exchanges coming, one of which will be staying with Buffy, and she's not pleased with this decision to have the guest in her home, or so she's saying. And Xander goes on to talk about what his dad actually did to him. And I was like, if he tried to sell you to some Armenians, he's like, that's the closest I've ever gotten to an exchange program.
Your dad's trying to human traffic.
If that is a real joke, then that lets you know where his family's mindset is. Once again, giving us a little particle of what his home life is like, which is pretty fucking sad. I don't know why I'm smiling really hard right now when I'm saying it, but And we get our first fashion watch moment, because here go them sunglasses that Courtney hates on Buffy's face, hanging up on top of her head. Willow's got her little sunglasses on too, just to point that out. And I've never seen Willow in sunglasses, but she was trying to look just as cool as Buffy. It was also very bright outside, so I understand it. But I love them, and they are here to stay apparently, because she's still wearing them from last season. And I thought it was cute that Willow was all bouncy going inside. She's like, yay, we're on a field trip. Buffy is here with the gang this time. The gang's all together this trip, and Buffy's not separated, and there's no sight of the core 4 assholes. But there is sight of Cordy, because we pan over to her inside the museum, and I guess Cordelia is over Kevin, aka Mitch 2.0, because she's swooning over the male students in this little flyer that she's going through with a list of all the students that are coming. If they have that wow for one, because she asked Buffy whenever she runs into their group, like, who's staying with her, and she's not really certain. She's like, I don't know, some guy. Cordelia, you have the magazine right here. Flip to Buffy's page and see who 𝒕𝒓𝒄𝒄 is, like, because they clearly know his name. That never happens, though, so whatever.
We could have avoided a lot.
And I had to, in my head, be like, dude, shut up, Xander, because this is always his stance whenever he mentions the guy. He's like, some guy staying in your house, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, Lord, here we go.
The Jealousy Express.
It's lighthearted, though. I mean, he's always making these dumbass comments, but we're going to roll past them. The gang take to Rodney Munson, or should I say Buffy, who has never seen him before. And she's like, who's that? He's your classic weird, angsty teenage male with braces. I point out the braces specifically because whenever that guy comes over to him, they have him go like and growl at the guy that's like trying to talk to him or mess with him when he's just damaging property of the museum. He's like taking a knife and scraping fucking pieces of the mask off
why?
in front of everybody in the room. But when he does that, you can very distinctively see his braces in his mouth. But Xander and Willow know exactly who he is. He's the boy version of Sheila from last episode, apparently. You know what? I like Rodney, because Willow brings up 2 seconds later about how Xander doesn't like him.
You just don't like him because of that time he beat you up every day for 5 years?
That shit made me bust out laughing this time around because it's the way she says it. She's like, because at that time he beat you up every day for 5 years. And it was just, it's not the way you would actually form a sentence. And I'm just like, Willow. But he agrees 100%. And Buffy suggests stopping him. But Willow takes the duty because this does not require the violent approach. And this also mirrors the scene in the pack when Buffy moves into the exhibit or starts to, and Xander's like, no, I'll go. This won't require actual slaying. So now we have Willow in this place. And she goes over to help Rodney and leaves Buffy to ponder her perception if she does everything violently. Xander's like, if you believe that you don't, you don't. Either way, Willow makes the suggestion of stopping to Rodney, and he's actually very friendly with her, which was cute because he's like, get the fuck away from me. He's like, oh, hey, Willow. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. Obviously, she's his tutor as well. And she's asking if they're on for the next day. And he says that shit about he's got all 14 of the natural elements memorized. And Willow's like, there are 103. And he's like, and he's just like, looks clueless. I was like, I love little jokes like this. It's fucked up. He's like, I got all 14. And she's like, they're all of 103, bro. At this point, a guide in the museum calls out to the students to enter the Inca princess exhibit, quoting that the human sacrifice is about to begin. Once inside, he speaks on the sacrifice of a young princess chosen as an offering to a mountain god who has now become
a scary, discolored, shriveled mummy
laying in a tomb with the museum's traveling exhibit. Willow was expecting a white bandaged mummy, but no, it's a disgusting ass dried up prune of a bitch. I can hate on her and body shame right now because her body is not the best. He finishes his story mentioning that the plated cursed seal she holds is guarding her so long as it's not removed, because that will awaken her, says the lore anyway. We get some pretty goofy shots of the mummy, as I've already said, appearing to be eavesdropping also, like Buffy and Xander and all them talking, and he's prodding about this guy again and annoying the fuck out of me and Courtney and everyone else. Saying his name on Pata, though, and then it takes a little quick shot to the mummy's head, and you can tell that the mummy is like eavesdropping on them. And I'm like, I thought Buffy was the queen of eavesdropping. Now we got on Pata, or dead Pata, whatever her name is. Did you think this mummy kind of looked like Xana? I kept thinking about it this time around for some reason. Like, legit, like, especially later when she comes up to the real Empata, like, it kind of really looks like Xana.
It really is.
Like, the body type, like, the skin, the teeth. Like,
The skin.
oh my god, somebody we know, you guys, so sorry you'll never understand this, and God forbid, I know she'll never listen to this
Hopefully
podcast,
she
but
never listens.
I'm gonna keep it in regardless because it's hilarious. I don't know why. I just really, I'm just being my goal in this show is to be my authentic self, and I authentically immediately saw her face in my mind upon this rewatch. So
I love your defense around it. You're like, I'm trying to be authentic and I can't help my authentic reaction. Like, my mind immediately went to Xana upon seeing this crazy crusty bitch.
And then you have to bring that back up. I'm dead, but whatever. All right, all that aside, they move off from that exhibit to the next one. Later, we see Rodney come back in, who is here to ruin some more shit so he can get kicked out of school. He hardcore sneaks into this, too. He's like creeping like us behind the bushes that night Romeo was following us around the hood. Because he's like looking for people he's sketched out. But he said, this about to be my new dinner plate, and he tries to steal it. But whenever he goes to retrieve it, he accidentally smashes it into her tomb, whatever you want to call it. Upon retrieving it into 3 chunky pieces. And he's still into it, though, and he reaches back inside to, I guess, collect them. And when he's close enough in contact to the mummified corpse, the arms extend outward and start to choke him. Her dry eye sockets opening up, and we fade to black so we can listen to the Buffy theme. Bow, now, now, now.
Meow.
Real talk, though, how in the hell did this motherfucker break this seal so terribly? Because he obviously is not doing such a great job at his acting.
You know, her her corpse fingers have like morphed around this damn shit that basically looks like a plate. And I'm like, you really don't think you're gonna smash that up against something and break it immediately? Like, this is exactly why I don't buy a glass bong, because no.
Because your dried crusty fingers from holding it too long because you never stopped smoking.
No, it's because I can't like gently take delicate items from any place, because you and I single-handedly have broken like 5 bongs before. Just because we kept them in places that, like, why would you keep it there? You're gonna smash it up against something.
I do think you bring up a really good point about her and the seal, because if her crusty, dusty fingers are all like encased around that, you would think he'd pop off a couple of fingers trying to pull it out from her hands, especially
That
when he did it
too.
so terribly.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I'm surprised the fingers and the seal didn't break in one go. She come back to life and have no fingers.
Oh my God. Well, the next day at school, Buffy and Giles are training in the library, and she's asking if she can go to the cultural dance, and he's like, absolutely not. She's the chosen one, not the overlooked one. And she is dealing out some serious punches and kicks, letting Giles know that she indirectly is not pleased with this decision. He tries to remind her of her responsibilities, but she remembers.
Oh, I know this one. Slaying entails certain sacrifices, blah, blah, bitty, blah. I'm so stuffy, give me a scone.
Giles, in a different way, is worried of this student staying with her and her keeping her identity a secret. And she begs Giles to please budge, because no one likes a non-budger. And she rears back one more time to give him that final kick, and he scoots backwards to avoid it. And he's like defensively shouting, "Fine, go, you can do it, you can do it." Because I don't want to get fucking kicked one more time where I gotta go, ice myself, as he does. And she goes,
Yay, I win.
I love how Giles is afraid of Buffy because of the fact that she's whooping his ass, and she's obviously dealing out aggressive punches. Xander is over here flinching with every kick that she's doing, and it was making me laugh because he's like watching it in the background. He's like, oh, and then of course he's got to hop up and try to split them up, because the second time he hears about this guy that's staying with Buffy, he's like, no, she's not actually having a guy stay with her, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, this is growing tiresome. We're barely into season 2, Xander. I thought you were over Buffy. Apparently not. But Giles, we always see him with these training items, and I'm curious if he like buys all this shit and obviously stores it, I guess, in this tiny ass little cage that's in the library where all the weapons are. But like, what kind of salary is he on? Or is the Watchers Council giving him a fucking Watchers Council debit card so that way he can go to these stores where he can just buy crossbows and stuff? I'm sure like some of these things actually he might have just had on his own, just like he came with his own books, because Willow said he brought a lot of stuff from England with him. But I just thought it was funny and worth discussing, because I'm like, what kind of salary is he making? Is he has to use his like own personal money to get all this stuff for Buffy to fight with?
I wonder, do they just equip him with an arsenal of these things when they deem him the Watcher? Like, here, you're gonna need all these.
See, I would like that too. Exactly.
We need more context. We're too curious about all the details.
Way too curious. Well, he's got to go to his office to ice his shoulder anyways. And since they're on the subject of the dance, Xander offers to grab his mom's car since Buffy can go now, and she can come along and ruin any romantic date-like energy between him and Willow.
See, with you, we're 3 and everybody's safe. Without you, we're 2.
Ah, and we enter Dateville. Romance flowers.
Lips.
Buffy seriously questioning him ever thinking about Willow's lips, and he gives the hardest no, while Willow is seen walking in to catch the end of his statement about how she's number 1 on his friend-zoned list. This making her sad as always, and the overalls aren't helping. Low-key though, I'm probably about to go order some overalls just to have them in my closet, because I'm trying to channel my like 90s vibes and wear them. It has some great big pockets all over the place, so you can store some really cool things. Like
I'm here for it.
I can keep my cell phone in there. I can keep my yo-yos in there. Willow says hey to them, announcing her presence in that sad ass way. She's like, not gonna hang out with my friends, and they just made me bummed out, aka just Xander did. Xander does that thing that we all do when we're caught talking about someone. He's like, oh, we were just having a happy discussion about us 3 at the dance together, clearing up that energy real quick. And I'm just like, But here we go again with that Xander Willow trouble. We're entirely over. And then his comment on lips and shit. Of course, Willow got to walk in on this shit too. I'm just like, this has been so many times now. Xander's, and this time unintentionally. Most times it's usually to her face. He's kind of putting her down. And we got to bring this shit up one more time, because this is the episode where we kind of seal the deal on all this kind of bullshit, I would say.
I figured, yeah. She needs to be cut a break at this point, because I swear to God, I feel like after that happened and she caught that moment between their conversation, I was like, man, poor Willow. She's just reminded at every damn turn that Xander's basically permanently and concretely friend-zoned her ass.
Well, unfortunately, she does it to herself most of the time, because she still puts herself in this situation to where she's just living in a daydream. So,
that's true, yeah.
But like I was saying, thankfully this episode, she kind of puts the one foot in front of the other and says, I'm out this bullshit. But Willow has appeared in the library to actually tell them of the fact that Rodney is missing and having not returned from the museum the day before. Willow hoping that he didn't get into the trouble at the museum, which, he did. Just not in the way that they thought. And of course, Xander starts literally laughing, calling it to joke, hey, maybe he awakened the mummy. And she laughs, saying, and maybe it rose from the tomb. And then Buffy smiles, playing along with them, adding, and then it attacked him. And then they all immediately pause. Everyone's face realizes this is probably exactly what happens. And I love it. They are like, oh, fuck, man, come on. It's not even a second thought on their part. They just instantly are like, what the fuck? Because we flash immediately over to the gang entering the exhibit at the museum. I guess Giles drove them all over there in the middle of the school day. Willow suggesting maybe he just stepped out for a smoke. And was it Xander that's like, for 21 hours?
Yeah.
Like, oh, shit. And then she's like, it's addictive, Yes, exactly. We know. Buffy speaking on the mummy's curse. They're bringing Giles to see the mummy, him asking about the seal, them noticing that it is smashed, and he examines a piece of it as we hear a loud yell and a man attacking them. Xander dodging him as the man looks at the mummy in the tomb. Xander hops on his back, but the man frees himself and runs off, and then we're left kind of confused for a second. And they don't understand why he canceled the attack. And Giles suggests heading off before he comes back. Willow taking a gander at the mummy once more before they head out. And she's like, Giles, the Incans, were they advanced? And he's like, oh, yes, very much so. And she's like, okay, well, or what were their level of orthodontists like? And I was like, oh, shit, you're not wrong. Because this motherfucker, we look at his face and the mummy is laying there. Only it's not the girl from before. It's Rodney's corpse, dried mummy style, complete with braces still intact. This guy, when he first attacked, were you picking up that was Rodney in there?
Yeah, I didn't realize it right away, but then obviously it doesn't, you put it together pretty quickly if you were paying attention in the beginning to what happened when the seal broke, so yeah, I didn't initially, but after 3 seconds I was like, oh wait, I think I know what the fuck's going on here.
I also wanted to point out too, this type of death is seen a couple of times in the episode, having your vital life force energy sucked away from you. How do you imagine it feels to die that way? Because it happens to both these guys and it doesn't look like it's pleasant.
For me, I almost thought about it the opposite way, and I was like, could you imagine if that's how you could kill people? You would get away with murder almost every time. Because I'm like, what is the DNA evidence? It just looks like you made out with somebody. You know what I mean? Who can suck the life force out of you? So it's like, this bitch could actually kill everyone in the world and no one would ever know.
No, they won't. I guess maybe even if they were to check dental records for Rodney, how are they going to really track this? They'll be like, yeah, this is Rodney. All the elements are showing there, but also the age and, a
But what's the
specialist.
cause of death? How do you explain that? You know
You
what I mean?
don't,
It's
you
like
don't.
someone that vacuumed the life out of you.
They took too much PCP.
If Princey Snyder was there, that's what he would say.
Oh my god. No, but I mean, I guess that, she gets away with it. It is worth pondering that for a second. It's a terrifying ass way to die. I feel bad for Rodney and the real Amada at this point because holy shit.
But I do wonder how it feels because it looks like it goes pretty quickly. It's not like she's just sitting there slowly sucking the life out of you for 27 minutes. It's 5 seconds and then you're dead. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I don't know. Do I want to die that way? Kind of.
It's just the quickest way to die. I'll put it on my bucket list. My bucket list. All right, great. Well, after we've left the museum, we arrive back at the library where Willow wonders how he looked like he had been dead for 500 years, as we discussed. Giles says that answer lies in the seal, which he will need to get started on the transcriptions right away. Tonight, actually, this word triggering Buffy's memory of picking up the real Ampada from the Sunnydale bus station that night. Xander commenting once more about the man, scolding her for being worried about him versus the mummy situation. 3 times now this episode, and I'm just like, all right, I've got to say it because I haven't said it in a long time. Fuck off, Xander. Shut up, please. But we still love you in the smallest way. Buffy mentions that she's definitely got to go because he probably doesn't speak any English, being from South America and all. But then she's like, oh wait, he can probably translate the seal. And she rushes off to go get him. We clip over at the bus station as a man is standing there with a suitcase looking around all clueless. We hear a feminine voice though start to whisper, Ampada. Oh fuck no. It always sends a little shiver up my spine because I'm like, 𝙗𝑚𝑝𝑎𝑑A, don't you listen. And then he's dumb and he starts following the sound of the voices because he's like, oh, maybe this is Buffy. No. He moves behind a row of buses in the lot as a second time the name is called out. 𝙗𝑚𝑝𝑎𝑑A. And he walks towards some shadows. He actually looks into the shadows, kind of seeing a figure back there. And then when he finally makes it out, 𝑥ander just comes into plain sight and is grabbing him by his neck, pulling his face into hers, locking them lips, and draining his life force energy into her as he turns mummified. And this time we actually get to see it. We didn't get to see it with Rodney. We had to come back and see that it was happened that way. So now we see how this is done, and it's gross. He just like literally turns fucking black and all sunken in.
He turns into a raisin.
Yes. Willow's gonna eat him in 2 seconds, but except now she's obsessed with ice cream and not raisins anymore. Thankfully. This scene reminds me of that scene in American Horror Story. I think you've said that you haven't really seen it because we talked about Coven before, but Jessica Lange's character Fiona Good in that season, in episode 1, she's trying to get this advanced medication that they're trying to come up with to help you like regain your youth in a way. And she's a witch, so she's like the supreme, so she already technically can do a lot of stuff to like make things happen, but she's still aging as a person becoming older. She's just wilding about her age and her youth. So she's like pushing for them to do this stuff, and the guy like does it illegally because she convinces him, and she starts taking this medication. Apparently she's been taking it for a long time. She gets really pissed off with him because she's like, this medication is not working. You keep injecting this shit into me and I'm not seeing results. Like I don't look like I've been using Bioline from Catwoman and all these things. I don't know if you've seen Catwoman, the one with Halle Berry, but it's like makes her face hard as a rock. I'm referencing all the movies. Once again, this is my drop for you guys to go watch American Horror Story, Coven, and Catwoman, but don't really because Catwoman's not truly worth watching. But then you'll get my references. But I thought it was interesting because it's the exact same type of situation. She puts her lips up to the guy and sucks to it. I'm like, these people had to have seen Inca Mummy Girl to be like, let's do this in the show. Mm-hmm. Ryan Murphy or whoever makes the show.
Yeah, that is true. Because I did wonder, I was like, where did this whole concept come from? Because obviously, like, to regain life, you have to take life, and that is the most obvious way to do it. But it's just really interesting, too, the visual effects that they use to depict the person's life literally leaving them and what they would look like if that actually happened, kind of thing. And I was like, oh shit, they really are turning into a raisin out here.
Yeah, legit, though. I wrote in my notes that it was pretty cool CGI for the times. For the effects that they had, it actually looked really cool. But yeah, either way, welcome to Sunnydale. 𝙗𝑚𝑝𝑎𝑑A, you're dead now. He's like, fuck. Buffy arrives 40 minutes late to the bus station with Willow and 𝑥ander calling out 𝙗𝑚𝑝𝑎𝑑A's name. 𝑥ander sounding ignorant as fuck to say he doesn't know any Spanish except Doritos and Chihuahua. And I was like, I certainly know the word Doritos, but I also know a few other phrases in Spanish. And I was like, of course 𝑥ander saying the shit though, but honestly, same. Doritos actually sound pretty good right now. I think I have some and some pickles I'm going to get later.
Yeah.
Buffy continues to call out when a girl calls out that she is here. She is 𝙗𝑚𝑝𝑎𝑑A. And we're like, no, bitch. No, you ain't. We know it ain't because we just watch you kill 𝙗𝑚𝑝𝑎𝑑A and you out here trying to be impostering him. Yes. But appearing before them, gorgeous as all get out and in 𝙗𝑚𝑝𝑎𝑑A's clothes. Her hair is herring in this moment too, all pulled off to one side, cascading down and thick and voluminous waves, all the things. Like this girl is amazing. Obviously, I'm hyping her up because 𝑥ander takes notice to all this shit. And he's just like, oh, fuck. And they're all actually pretty stunned. You know, the girls mostly because they expected a guy. And 𝑥ander all of a sudden not giving a fuck that it's not a man anymore. And he's just like, oh my God, I got fresh meat to thrust myself upon. And then he's just like, ay caramba. And he's like, I can also say that in Spanish. 𝙗𝑚𝑝𝑎𝑑A was smart enough to take that white button up that the real 𝙗𝑚𝑝𝑎𝑑A was wearing. She actually tied it in the front to make it look more feminine whenever she came up too. So she knew kind of what she was doing for her having no eyeballs for hundreds of years, you know. And also not having fashion back in the day, which I'm sure they had their own fashion. That was probably back in the day when they were using berries to put like, you know, lipstick on and things like that. That's what Egyptians did. They used berries and stuff to tint their lips red.
Yeah, right.
Or their hair color. They used to use blackberries and stuff to dye their hair black and all this other shit. So yeah, fun facts of ancient
history.
times. Yes, it's history with Brandon. Anyways, we transition over to Buffy's house and she's showing 𝙗𝑚𝑝𝑎𝑑A around. Joyce isn't there to offer her something small or something big to eat.
Do you feel like something little or something big?
So Buffy offers her juice instead of expired milk because that's all she has in the refrigerator. And Paracus asks 𝙗𝑚𝑝𝑎𝑑A doesn't know what a glass is or drinking, apparently, because 𝑥ander's over there idiotically motioning the actions of drinking. He's like, do you want drink? Boy, if you don't fucking stop. I just stopped and I was like, wow. And then she just smiles at him. Willow breaks the tension and asks the question that we've all been wondering the last 3 minutes. She's a girl. Here she is in a girl way, telling her that they were expecting a boy. Xander, of course, okay with this crazy mix-up. Buffy asks if she's been to the States before, and she says that she has toured. Xander asking her slowly in that way again, where did you go? Like, he drops it quick, though, when she clarifies that she is well versed in English due to the fact that she listens quite often. Not seeing much, though. Of course, she didn't see anything, but at least 𝙗𝑚𝑃𝑔 doesn't straight lie here at all. She just says that she was taking places because that's legit. She was carting around in like a touring exhibit, so she's not lying here. And she's not wrong about not seeing anything because she had no eyeballs. So she listened a lot because this bitch was hearing everything going on with her body, which is insane because that means from day one of her being dead and her fully, whenever they put the place to seal and did all the things to basically, I guess, trap her soul in this body because she's still able to reanimate herself, you would think that her sacrifice would be given to the gods.
Yeah.
But I guess because it was a sacrifice, it comes with all that mysticism and the context to getting trapped within your body because you were used for like magical forces. I don't really know how to put that, but that's what I'm trying to weave into this.
Maybe
But
that's the way they deemed it the safest, is to keep her trapped within herself or something like that, versus like the unknown of letting her soul into like the afterlife or like continuously, obviously when she's dead, so she can't really do anything. I guess someone could have turned her into a vampire and she could have come back as that eternally.
I mean, I don't really know, but if the Mayans back then were sacrificing someone, it's probably for their fortune or their like goods, their crops, because that used to be a thing. Same thing with animals. They used to give those as blessings to the gods as well. I mean, obviously this is like full on witchcraft, or back in the day witchcraft, because we don't do that anymore. But it's
It was
a
Christianity back in the
sacrifice
day.
is just it was their way of amplifying their magics and giving it a bigger thing. They're saying like, we're giving you this big gift. Can we get something back in return? But I would just think that the god would consume the soul at that point, and then the soul would just be like literally not even in a ethereal realm at that point. Like the soul is gone. You know what I mean? Like it's dissipated from reality. There's no chance of it ever coming back type shit. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Once again, questions worth pondering. This episode really has me pondering the mummy perception.
They should have taken a sledgehammer to her the way that Buffy did with the master's bones.
Exactly. Either way, that night, her and Buffy are settling into her room, and 𝙗𝑚𝑃𝑔 has that cute little I'm a normal girl moment when she bounces on the bed, and she's like, oh, I've never been on one of these before because I slept on a rock. Buffy questions what her life is back home, and 𝙗𝑚𝑃𝑔 once again doesn't lie, describing it as cramped and dead. Oh shit, here go 𝙗𝑚𝑃𝑔 again with her facts. Buffy assures her if that's the case,
Well, you'll feel right at home in Sunnydale.
because it's also cramped and dead there too. She'll find out.
Yes.
𝙗𝑚𝑃𝑔 speaks on all that Buffy has, admiring her room, getting the first glimpse of that photo of Buffy, Willow, and Xander that we will see often along the show's run. Spoiler, but it's a fucking photo, so whatever. Deal with it, everybody that's listening. You're going to see this photo a lot. Deal with it, Courtney. If you're really upset, Courtney, because I exposed that photo, I'm so sorry, but you're going to see it a good 48 more times throughout the series. It's the classic shot. But now you can be looking for it whenever we see it. You can be like, oh, there's that damn photo again.
That's true.
She asks if she has friends, but 𝙗𝑚𝑃𝑔 says it's just her, which is kind of sad. They're all dead, but I wonder if she had friends back then.
Like, she don't consider her bodyguard a friend or whatever.
No,
She
that
wasn't
is
alone, technically.
true. But no, she does not like him at all. And she's talking about how she has none, but she wants Buffy to teach her everything about her, and so she can be just like Buffy, have a normal life. And Buffy's eyeballing slightly because she's like, I know I can't tell you 𝙗𝑚𝑃𝑔, and you can't know, but she reaches over and shuts off her bedroom light to her window, and she's like, one normal life coming right up. And we pan outside, and we see the man standing out in the yard as the light goes off, and I was like, oh, hell, I was half expecting to see Sid in the window again, because the last time we had her cut her bedroom light off, Sid was in the fucking thing, and I was like, nope, just the bodyguard.
You're just waiting to hear those little pitter-patter feet.
Outside school the next day, we are introduced officially to Devin, who is a singer for a band, walking with Cordy, who's got her eye on him. Okay, so we're done with Mitch. We're done with the guy that died. And, you were obsessed with the guy that you're getting placed with because you thought he was hot in the magazine. So we're going to try to fuck with him while you're also talking to Devin. I know that was really confusing, but do you understand how that is just confusing in itself? Like, what? Okay, but whatever. And she's going on about how she's not gonna but will be there to ogle at his performance at the Bronze that she will be attending. She basically backtracks on herself because she's saying, don't expect me to be doing all this stuff and be standing by the side of the stage, ogling you and all this other stuff. And he's like, well, where will you be then? And she's like, I'll be by the side of the stage ogling you. Once again, it's just a round of confusion when it comes to Cordelia in this scene. But it also shows us her exchange student that's standing over there, someone that she finds now unattractive and dopey, and his name is Sven, who actually doesn't speak English, so she thinks anyways. She just orders him around like a dog. She's like, Sven, come. And I'm like, poor Sven. Cordelia need to calm down. Why is she talking to him like that? Entitled bitch.
Literally, she acts like she just adopted herself a servant. I'm like,
and
no.
and we like Cordelia at this point, so it's like we love to hate her in this way. Either way, she finishes up with Devin and calls off Sven to come, and they leave. Devin moves over to a friend and fellow bandmate, lead guitarist Oz. He calls him, asking his opinion on Cordelia, his hot new Wonderland toy, as he puts it. Oz isn't really interested, though, Devin pondering what kind of girl he's into then, since Cordy is prime meat. Oz making a joke, but Devin calling him picky, but he's not. He's just not impressed with any girl who can walk and talk like Devin is, aka Cordelia, who claims that they don't have to. He's like, they don't have to talk. And I'm like, oh, God. You're just as bad at this. Is one of Xander's other friends. Oh, geez. But yeah, here we meet Oz. This is our first interaction.
I was really excited. I didn't foresee the connection that we get into later happening, but I'm really excited to see what his character like evolves into and how much he gets worked into things and his love interest and all of that. But more importantly, I was just really stoked to see Seth Green, and I'm probably going to call him Seth Green the entire time instead of calling him Oz.
No, you'll start to call him Oz eventually. I'm sure of it. We cut over to Xander and Willow, who are chatting about how he should dress up for the dance since it's cultured theme. Willow already has her outfit complete, saying that she's made it herself. Fashion moment for Willow. I wasn't vibing with the hat, but
The blue one? Is it the blue?
Yes. Yeah, I wasn't here for the hat. I don't know why. I'm not really a hat person in general, so maybe that's what it is. Willow can rock it, make it look cute. She's already got I'm not even trying to be mean when I say this. Obviously, Willow's supposed to be kind of this dorkier character, so it makes sense for her to be dressed half the time the way that she is, because it's not often that she's really in a posh, full-on of the times modern looking outfit.
And
it's just very strange. Has on this random stuff, whatever. But I guess this is the style back then. So I wasn't really a fan of the hat, but I was a fan of her pro LGBTQIA plus rainbow backpack that she has on, because you can see her stripes with the rainbow. And I was like, oh, look at Willow. Anyways, moving along. Xander basically just winds up ignoring the rest of their interaction when he notices Buffy and Pada arriving at the school. Pada is very nervous about all the people that are around, and Buffy assures her that she will have no problems making friends. In fact, she knows one that is dying to meet her already, taking her straight to Giles in the library, where we immediately cut to, and I die at this scene because Giles has just said hello to this girl, and he goes, hey, can you translate this seal for us? Like, all in the same motion. They're like, Giles, this is Pod. Oh, hello, nice to meet you. Can you translate this seal? And Buffy even calls him out on the moment, and I was like, oh, hell. And then Ampada looks alarmed at the sight of it. She covers that shit up real quick with, why are they asking her? And Giles is stating that it's from her region and they are trying to translate it for their project. Okay, first off, how are y'all not putting the 2 and 2 dots right here? Like, watching her body language, especially you, Giles. And you already just made the comment, it's from her region.
Yeah, no, I thought the exact same thing. I was like, come on, you guys are literally saying it out loud. Like, just get to the final phase.
They're like, we can't eat these breadcrumbs fast enough.
We're trying to get full on breadcrumbs.
Exactly. Well, Willow says, covering it up, that this project is for Archaeology Club, coming in hot with the save. Pada tells them that it's old and valuable, wondering where are the missing pieces, and they're like, I don't know, lost, aka they're still at the museum. And she suggests that he hides it, and Giles just ignores her, apparently, because this could have been another moment whenever he's like, why do you want to not be a part of this? And he asks her about the dedication of the man's drawing that's on it, aka the guy who attacked them, her telling him that could be a bodyguard protecting the mummy from anyone disturbing it, aka her. He's like, oh, great, thanks, that'll help. Giles says that he's going to need Buffy to stay with him to talk more on this, her being club president and all. Right. Buffy offers Ampada to hang with Willow all day, but Xander immediately confirms that his name is in fact Willow, and he will do just that. because he's like, all right, let's go. He leads the way out for him and 𝑚𝑃𝒂, and Willow is just sadly going, boy, they really like each other, don't they?
Hmm.
I know. It's genuine sadness versus petty talking and snide gatekeeping like some other people would do. Just like, no. Get over him. Then we cut outside to watch Xander teach 𝑚𝒃𝒂 how to eat Twinkies while on some bleachers at the school. And he's really strange, apparently, as she calls him, but she likes it. And I'm over here fucking gagging in my throat. I'm like, no, don't like Xander. Come on, don't do it.
No.
It's not. But obviously she knows no better. She's just happy to be alive and falling for some guy, 5 seconds after she met him. And I wrote my notes. I was like, all right, let's not spend any more time here. So I really didn't even detail anything else about this scene in context for the actual dialogue or anything. But I did want to comment that I heard somewhere once, I feel like, that Nikki Brendan got sick on set from several takes of him having to stuff Twinkies in his face. I bet maybe one could be good because I like a little snack cake every now and again, or like a little Debbie or
I
whatever you
feel
want
like
to call
it's
it.
like one of those things, if you have a craving for it, you could definitely shove that whole thing in your mouth and be like so fucking happy. But eating like 2 and 3 for the sake of takes, and like I would throw up instantly. I think it's the second one, and I would be like, I'm good, we're good here.
I was watching the scene while it played through, and I just Nicholas's face while he's trying to act, and he's got all that stuff in his mouth like he did in freaking Nightmares when he's got all the chocolate in his mouth, and I just like really wanted him to swallow some of it, and you can see he's trying to get out his dialogue and get through the scene, and I just know that like after that had set in his mouth for so long that there's no swallowing that at that point. There's so much saliva from you trying to talk, you just gotta spit that shit out. I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
was
totally.
gagging for him.
Poor guy, poor guy. Yeah, I guess you don't really think about those like takes that they have to do with such a, because like you said, it's not like the significant part or anything, but it is kind of funny when you really put it into context. I'm like, so how many raisins did Willow have to eat in the first season? How many little fruit punch bottle things do you think they've drank on set?
Yeah, that's actually true because she is sipping on those juicy boxes.
How is her mouth never red like the Masters? Because them things be leaving a red ass film in your mouth. You looking like you just like, I don't know, ate a red ass Jolly Rancher all damn day.
I love these tangents. I love how we just went on one about food based off a fucking Twinkie.
This did stand out to me though, because instantly I was like, please don't learn anything from Xander, like how to talk to anybody, how to eat food, apparently. Like, don't ever go around calling anything a snack food, by the way. Like, that's not what we say. It's called a snack. Like, it's good. You're good. Like, there's so many things that went wrong
the
in 2
abbreviated
minutes.
version for us these days. We just don't say food. It also kind of makes me think of Zombieland whenever Woody Harrelson's character is trying to find a Twinkie. That's like his favorite fucking thing in the world. And they eventually find that truck that's got the Twinkie label on it. And he pulls the strap to it and opens up the truck, and all those nasty ass coconut pink snowball things come out. And he's like kicking through them, all pissed off.
Like the worst thing you could get.
Either way, I'll get back on track now because Buffy's trying to show Willow her findings in research mode, but Willow is stuck on Xander, and she's just sitting there like playing with this little frog stuffed animal while she's talking. And Buffy's reminding her 𝑚𝒃𝒂 is only here for 2 weeks because Willow's looking bummed, and Willow states, yeah, then he can find someone else that's not me to obsess about. At least with Buffy, she knew that he didn't have a shot. And she also states,
Well, I have a choice. I can spend my life waiting for Xander to go out with every other girl in the world until he notices me, or I can just get on with my life.
and Buffy's all like, good for you. And then Willow goes,
Well, I didn't choose yet.
Giles awards Buffy for her findings, saying that based on the depictions of the seal, they're implying that the mummy can drain the life force of a person. Now they just have to A, find, and B, stop the mummy. But Giles has more to translate on the seal. Outside on the bleachers, they're done eating their snacky snack, apparently, because the bodyguard man makes his attack again, claiming Xander took the seal. And I'm like, all right, now you out here in the broad daylight. You couldn't just get this bitch when she was at the house. Now you're just out here attacking on the bleachers. Here we go again. It is what it is. And he is horrified when he sees 𝑚𝒃𝒂 sitting there, noticing exactly who she is in this moment. And Xander kicks him off, and he tumbles down the bleachers as they run off straight to the library, where we find Giles bringing 𝑚𝒃𝒂 some soothing tea. Apparently, they've informed him about all of the shit that's happened. They all know now that the bodyguard is after the seal. Giles, worried of him getting it, considers what they should do with it. 𝑚𝒃𝒂 tells him to destroy it. If he doesn't, someone could die. That's because you're going to be killing them all. And 𝑚𝒃𝒂. She senses they are keeping things from her, with their cryptic speaking on the murder having already occurred. Xander almost tells her, but the gang scold him with their eyes, and they're like, Xander, you can't be telling Buffy secrets. You know this. You tell Cordelia that she can't be telling other people, so why are you about here thinking Ampada's about to be part of the team? This bitch gonna go back to fucking South America if she was the real Ampada and be telling people, like, you guys, I met demons and slayers and all these things. They're gonna be like, we're putting you in the asylum.
Meredith was watching this episode with me, and right when this happened, she was like, of course Xander would be the dumbass to right away want to open his mouth to somebody, especially a new girl, not even suspecting for a second, even after almost hooking up with a praying mantis, that this should not be done.
Well, where am I? Oh, yeah. He smartly decides against the action to do it, and they cover it up with some other bullshit. And then Ampada leaves, saying that the seal nearly got them killed when he follows her out into the halls, where he says that she will be safe, but she says that his investigation is dangerous, exclaiming that she only wants a normal life. Willow comes out there to check on them, and here we get our wig watch, because Xander says she's wigged. I haven't heard them say the Wiggins in a while, so here we are. Willow tells him that he should take her to the dance, and he's like, legit for a moment, he's like, oh cool, all of us will go, like me, you, Buffy, and everybody. And she's like, no, I think that the two of you should just go, and that she will just have to see him there. And then he tells her that she really is his best friend, and then she just smiles as he walks off, and she claims that she knows. And I love that, because she's like, I know. And right here, she has chosen to let Xander go. She's made this decision, and we are pleased with it.
Very.
This is it. This is the greatest decision. I'm so happy with this decision. That's what it's going to be.
Honestly, I'm so glad, because we see her in season 1 develop into someone who tells Xander no and tries to keep those feelings at bay. And then Xander has to go and almost kiss her in the first episode of this season, therefore muddling up everything that we've built from that. It of sorts loops her back in that moment. And then she's back into playing this I like Xander game. And now here we finally let this go. You feel a release when she says that I know, and you see it in her smile too, that she's just really let it go.
Totally. You can tell it's her moment of acknowledging that she's kind of like, you know what, it's fine. I'm gonna let it rest. I'm gonna put it to bed. It's okay. I'm like, well, little do you know what's around the corner.
Neither do you. What are you talking about?
You are right, but I know a little.
You sensing some breadcrumbs?
Yeah, of course.
some Oz crumbs.
Yeah, some Seth Green crumbs.
Well, unfortunately, that's not the case, because poor motherfucker can't even talk to her. We'll find out. Buffy and Giles contemplate some more about the seal, the guard, and its missing pieces, coming up with the plan. A good plan being that they should probably go back to the museum to find the missing slats. Giles says, all right, great, we will meet there tonight. But no, Buffy has other plans, dance plans. And no, Buffy, you have canceled plans now, because that's what she says. She's like, canceled plans. I was like, something always coming up supernatural to keep Buffy from dates and dances. And
of course.
Killing her. She couldn't go to the fucking prom last season because she was doomed to die, literally. That's why we're doomed. That's why Giles said it. He's like, the earth is doomed. Out in the halls, though, on this day where the students absolutely have no class, because these students are never actually seen in class in these episodes. Very rarely. Xander asks Ampada to the dance, admitting that he likes her, calling this action scary, because we know how he feels about rejection, aka a girl ripping out his heart from his chest cavity and stomping it into the ground with her, what did he say, a heel or some shit like that? And I'm like,
I think so, yeah.
Aka what Buffy did to him in Prophecy Girl in his eyes. That's got that written all over it. But she's not certain why he is scared, because she admits that she likes him too. And I was like, you are stupid, Ampada. And he is hella stunned, and he has to confirm that she's being serious twice. And he finds this great. And honestly, this next line is the best, because he's like, you're not a praying mantis, are you?
Please, call me Natalie.
I was like, and here we get the actual callback within the episode to Teacher's Pet. I love that they remember canonically stuff like this, and they use it in a cool way here. Also, this poor naive mummy. It's not Ampada, she's the mummy. Imagine being dead for thousands of years, and Xander Harris is the first guy you meet and are attracted to whenever you're resurged back into life.
I would just feel like I had the worst karma.
She doesn't know any better, though. I feel like if she had hung around with him for a bit, that might have been the case. But maybe those parts of Xander that are actually cool and funny and quirky would overshadow some of the stuff. Because obviously, if he's dating somebody, he's probably going to loosely start drifting away from the commentary that he usually has over Buffy and all that stuff. Because he's going to have hyper focus on something else. So maybe
Yeah.
we need to give Xander a girlfriend.
We really do, though. That's one thing that is very clear. A normal one.
Well, Xander's here unknowingly once more trying to date a supernatural freakazoid. So here we go. Brushing this off, she has to go to the girls' room where Xander cannot follow. How does she read this sign? Because she had a different language in her time. And obviously on the seal is how they wrote, like in hieroglyphics. But she's over here talking about, this says the girls' room. You can't enter. And I'm like, what? Inside the girl's room, she is confronted by the bodyguard. She claims she is just an innocent girl who was taken against her will, him claiming she's now dead and now she kills the innocent and is in the wrong, but she will not have him put her back. He claims that she must stay dead, not to live again, and that she was chosen. He swings his blade to attack her, but she blocks it, laying a kiss on him, draining his life essence into hers. And now we don't have to worry about him anymore because, he's going to be a corpse in the bathroom. God forbid Principal Snyder is the one that finds him. We never, I don't think, find out anything about the damn... Wait, I think somebody does come in and say they found the bodyguard in the bathroom or something. I can't really remember. But either way.
Oh, I thought it was the bodyguard that was in the suitcase.
No, that's Ampada.
Oh, shit.
Damn, full circle moment. It's Ampada in the case. She killed him and put him in the case because it came from the bus stop and they dropped him off.
Wait, where did she kill the bodyguard? Where was
in
that?
the bathroom just now.
In
the girls'
room.
room.
Got him in her suitcase
at all. So I think he's just dead in the bathroom. I can't remember if they pointed out. If not, then the bodyguard's just left in the bathroom. I'm just like, when did all that stuff go down? Where Principal Snyder was like, "Damn, we found a dead mummified corpse in the bathroom at Sunnydale High." I'm not surprised, but also I'm surprised. He must have been on a shit ton of PCP. Yeah. I do find it interesting, though, getting serious again. Pada makes this comment before he goes to attack her. "Please, I am in love." And I had to argue this in my mind because, girl, you have been here literally a day and you are not in love with Xander. Because what you're in love with is this opportunity that's arisen for you to experience life again. You're in love with this experience, not with the boy. You're in love with all of this situationship that's going on.
Agreed. Totally agree.
She appears to Xander after leaving the bathroom, and she's more gorgeous than ever. She confirms in this motion that she will gladly go to the dance with Xander, and the two just walk off down the halls like, la, 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 life is great. And Ampada's like, "I just killed somebody, but I'm going to go off and live my best life. YOLO." That night in Buffy's room, Ampada is dressed up, getting ready for the dance, asking Buffy for lipstick. And I'm like, didn't you just have some lipstick in the girls' room? Like, what?
Where'd the 2 shades go you just had?
And when she comes into Buffy's room, finding her, she finds also that Buffy's standing there with the rest of her items from the bus station that they had dropped off. She also starts to inform Ampada that she will not be going to the dance due to club president duties that have come up and started to get in the way. She cycles through lipstick options over at Buffy's little desk, and Buffy suggests the perfect gold shade to match her fit. She tells Buffy that she's amazing and reminds her of the Inca princess who always thought of others instead of herself, telling her of the story as Buffy goes through her bag containing boys' underwear. And then I'm like, why is Buffy fondling these undies for way too long? Why are you unpacking this girl's bag for her? If I went on a trip with someone, they should never be unpacking my bag.
Hell no.
Like, I guess she's just trying to be nice. But you don't do that. You don't touch people's shit. That's their personal belongings.
You know what I also just thought of? How did this mummy know to be right there to take this dude's life and be able to take his identity on perfectly as an exchange student? Like, did someone give her the roster for the exchange program and let her know that was going on beforehand so she could just like enmesh herself in the situation? Like, now I'm extra confused because I'm like, girl, you just got so lucky. You chose the right victim the first time.
100%. But now that you're wanting to bring this shit up, I gotta bring up the fact that Buffy sucks. Because had it not been for Buffy being absent-minded and leaving poor Ampada and not getting there 40 minutes beforehand to pick him up on time, or if Joyce wasn't out getting stoned and was actually driving to go pick up the exchange student with Buffy.
She had to stop at Daryl's mom's house.
Apparently.
She needed to re-up.
She's watching some football games over at Daryl's mom's. That's where she's at this episode. But no, this is Buffy's fault in a sense because she wasn't there to pick up the real Ampada on time, and the mummy overheard 𝙘𝙖𝙣's name, so she knew who to be looking out for. How she knew that was 𝙘𝙖𝙣, I don't know. She's got some kind of magical sense and ability since she's become a mummified corpse or some shit. But
She heard them yelling his name, so she's like, I'm gonna just start saying this name and see who comes, and hopefully it works out.
I don't know how she knew that was 𝙘𝙖𝙣. She didn't have no eyeballs, so like I don't know what was going on.
You are right. Like,
These
how did
are
she even make it there?
missing elements. Well, she was already at the. Oh, yeah, you're not wrong. Like she was at the
How did
museum.
she
How
make
did
it
she?
to the buses? Like, where did you go? And how were you just out walking around outside to get to the bus stop as a
This
mummy? No one
this
stopped and was like, "Hey, this bitch ain't got no eyeballs and she looks like a raisin."
This is the biggest plot hole exposed for this episode that I did not think about. I just think about the fact that like maybe the bus station was like right over here by the museum or something like that, and that's not fact. Like the bus station wouldn't be at the museum, and he
Nah.
wouldn't be coming into town here because we see the Sunnydale bus station a few more times across the series. I mean, I know everything is half a block from the good part of town to the bad part of town, as Cordelia states,
But
but
still, like, she would have had to get out of the museum,
she's out.
walk around outside, get there, and there's no way she didn't cross anyone. It's the same question you had about, like, how these kids be digging in the graveyards, like, all the time in Daryl's episode, because I'm like, no one in the town suspects anything weird's going on when
Nobody
there's
sees
a bunch of
it.
teenagers just showing up over and over again to dig in a different grave, and now we have this mummy bitch walking around, and no one's like, "Hey, look, there's a mummy."
I guess since so much vampiric activity happens in graveyards, they don't have like the grave keepers as you usually would have for
No,
cemeteries and
they're
things.
probably dead.
And you know these graveyards are huge because one, we've seen them. So I mean, you can get lost up in there, but now we see why people aren't out there because they'd be getting eaten by vampires. But they would be the only people to catch because people that are just driving down the side of the road, they're not seeing the people deep into the fucking graveyard out here digging up shit and doing all these things.
Maybe that's the mummy went through the graveyard, and that's how she got to the bus stop.
Not only is Sunnydale a place like with a hellmouth residing underneath it, it's also a magical place where everything has everything, and we have
A lot of
we have
questions.
so much space within this tiny space, and also a lot of questions.
But even Meredith was, like, trying to get super technical as soon as they went into the museum, because she was like, "Now, in a regular exhibit, especially with this ancient of a mummy, like, fossil type of situation, they would have rope around that shit, and she'd be, like, encased in glass. Like, you wouldn't just be, like, sitting all up over her tomb like Xander and them were, like, talking about their weekend plans with his elbow, like, right there by her jaw."
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like,
they would
no,
have some kind of guard or something over top the thing, like a piece of plexiglass or some
something.
kind of shit, so that way it just wasn't exposed. There's
Yeah, you're
mummies.
usually not even allowed to, like, touch stuff like that, you know?
I don't know. Well, I love how
You're
we just
asking
had
for it.
that whole moment. We listened to 𝙘𝙖𝙣 telling the story of the Inca princess while she is opening up the vanity drawers.
They told her that she was the only one. That only she could defend her people from the netherworld. Out of all the girls in her generation, she was the only one.
Almost revealing Buffy's stakes and weapons, and Buffy moves to shut it real quick and completes her sentence in the story.
Chosen. Do you know the story?
It's fairly familiar.
It's interesting how they have this point of connection here too, because her life is exactly as 𝙘𝙖𝙣's basically was. 𝙘𝙖𝙣 continues on.
She was 16, like us. She was offered as a sacrifice and went to her death. Who knows what she had to give up to fulfill her duty to others? What chance at love?
Who knows?
Buffy starts to continue to unpack for her, opening up her trunk almost to see the real 𝙘𝙖𝙣's mangled, dried out corpse in there. And that's 𝙘𝙖𝙣's corpse, Courtney. That's not the
I
body
know
part.
now.
As the doorbell rings, and of course that's Xander interrupting the moment. It's distracting her from noticing her moving to go answer the door. 𝙘𝙖𝙣 places a lock on the truck real quick too. Buffy moves downstairs and answers the door, and Xander's really confused because he's like, why are you not in your outfit? She's like, oh, I'm going as white trash Betty themed because she's just there in her regular clothes, and Xander's dressed up in this like Italian man poncho looking outfit, and obviously didn't bring Willow, as Buffy notices, and he lets her know that it's just them two going, aka a date, romance lips. 𝙘𝙖𝙣 reveals herself coming down the stairs, and I was thinking a scene from She's All That, whenever she comes down the stairs, fucking Kiss Me
She
starts playing.
trips.
So kiss me.
But you don't want Sixpence and the Richards singing their song Kiss Me in this, because if she kisses you, it's the kiss of death.
It's over.
She comes down the stairs like every 16-year-old girl in 90s cinema. He is obsessed with her beauty, stuttering out useless phrases that Buffy translates as dumb boy speak for as such. And then Joyce makes her grand appearance for this episode and comes in to tell Ampata that she looks banging, but not as banging as those edibles that she's been home eating all day. Wishing Ampata could convince Buffy to go to the dance, Ampata agrees that she tried, but calls Buffy very stubborn. And Joyce is like, yes, bitch, don't I know it? I was like, shit. She just really looks at her and she's like, I know. And then Buffy's like, what the fuck is going on? And then her and Xander leave, and at least Xander tells Buffy to be careful. And then Buffy's like sweet and sentimental with him. She's like, you look great. And she's like, get the fuck out of the house. Quick convo about the cultural dance, because I was curious if it was appropriate back then for these to even be had. I feel like a lot of people would have a problem with this nowadays just because of cultural appropriation and stuff. Now, obviously, this is like a school event and a function that they're putting on, and it's for education. You know, it's got the whole exchange program going on with it. So the purpose to inform and educate students on other cultures is here. But I feel like, you know, people dressing up as minorities or other people, like, most of the time it's frowned upon nowadays. Like, you can't even for Halloween dress up as, like, you know, cowboys and Indians without somebody getting offended by it.
I think that, like, if you pay attention to the 90s, that was very much a thing, and I think it just was, like, maybe we were, like, a little bit more ignorant to the consequences for the minorities that we were, like, very poorly representing in these kind of situations, and I think the ignorance around that just kind of left a more open floor for that to keep happening routinely in, like, movies and stuff, especially with this younger generation that they're depicting, like, high schoolers and stuff, so I noticed that right away, and I was like, "Ooh, that's just not a good look for right now." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like you said, like, I think now there's more sensitivity and awareness around it, and I think those 2 things together just create a different, like, energy around that stuff where people are, like, way less inclined to feature that kind of stuff or make it a
Right.
point to have that even brought up in, like, movies or shows at all anymore, so,
And that's
I
what
don't
I
know.
think, because you don't really see it anymore and stuff like that. And like you said, it was kind of like blind ignorance back then. Like, it was okay in the times. People weren't quite as offended by it, and they were just kind of like going through the
Yeah, it
motions.
was, like,
But
normal
looking
almost.
back through the lens that we have now, most people would probably be like, ooh, we probably shouldn't have done that. But then maybe we learned from it. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of almost why I think a lot of people get in trouble that are in the spotlight or the limelight, whatever you wanna call it, that are famous, and you see them get in trouble for shit that happened, like, 20 years ago, you know, because a picture of them wearing something
Resurfaces.
really, like, just culturally inappropriate has surfaced somehow, and then before you know it, like, basically their career's over, but I'm just like, we do need to take into consideration the fact that we're hashing out stuff from likely the 90s where the dynamic was just so different, you know,
Hmm.
obviously, and we can see that in shows like this, like Buffy, probably Friends, you know, like, I'm sure anything that was really, really, like, mainstream popular in the 90s has
Yeah.
some sort of element of that.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to ponder it for a second because that popped up in my head, and I was just like, this doesn't taste the same, you know?
No.
It just doesn't.
I got
Uh,
the same exact takeaway. I was like, "Ooh, we wouldn't be doing that these days."
Not for real. Well, let's go to the cultural dance, because at the Bronze, performing is Devin's band, and it's called Dingoes Ate My Baby. Oz is super coolio on the guitar as we pan over to see Cordelia entering, looking like the beach version of the Teresa Barbie doll. That's what I thought, anyways, because she's got the tropical bathing suit on and like the lays and the florals going on. And then she sees Willow, who is out of frame to us, and comments on how she almost wore the same outfit, and then walks by Willow, us finally seeing her standing there in this Eskimo outfit. It's a burly, hardcore, like snow freaking Eskimo outfit. And she's got the like ice fishing spear. It's like, I cannot wait for Courtney to see this. Like,
Not. I could not. First off, I instantly felt bad for her because I was like, I know with the fact that Cordy's dressed how she's dressed and Willow's standing there dressed like she's ready for a blizzard to hit. She is under there sweating her absolute fucking
yes.
soul out of there. Like I felt so bad for her, but legit what I wanted more than anything to happen was for Willow to have a moment where she went slutty and she had like something hidden underneath there and she was like, "Oh no, this isn't my outfit." And, like, took it off, and she had, like, looks fucking banging or something, you know? I was like, I wish they would give Willow this one moment to just be like, "No, actually, I'm a savage, hot ass bitch."
One, remember this conversation, just saying. because
Okay.
you just did something that you
I
didn't
just
even
breadcrumbed myself.
know. So have fun with that. But absolutely, like I was hoping that you went into hysterics, and I have a note later on about the fact that Willow's sweating underneath him outfit and the bras, and she's just chill. She's looking around. I'm like, this is our Willow, you guys. This is our Willow.
It really is.
um, Cordy moves past her and over to her friends, and they ask about Sven, and she comments on trying to ditch him consistently, literally describing him as being like a dog. Well, Cordelia's talking to him exactly like Xander was with the Pada the whole time as well. She's like, get punchy, fruity, drinky. And I was like, no. But I also thought about how the fact that Cordy, and I don't think it's like canon or anything, but her reference about being like one of those dogs that the family loses on vacation and it follows you back home across 4 states. It reminded me of that movie Homeward Bound that came out in like 1993, where the 2 dogs and the cat get lost on a trip and then they have to like travel back home. I'm like, it's a 90s gem of a movie.
Yes.
I would probably not watch it nowadays, but I used to love Homeward Bound whenever I was a kid.
Ready to be crying over Homeward Bound.
Hell yeah, especially when the cat falls in the river and you think the cat's gonna drown. And I'm like, they
Of
wouldn't surely
course,
put this in a
yeah.
Walt Disney movie.
You
It's not
never
even a
know.
cartoon movie. How the hell did they get all these animals to do all that shit, especially the cat in this film?
Did you literally grow up ever wondering that every time an animal was like stunted in a movie? First off, how much are they paying the owner? Because I need to know.
Courtney, I was probably a good 14 years old whenever I realized that the cat used in Sabrina the Teenage Witch was not a real cat.
I mean, to be real, I was
'Cause they
probably
use
like
one
12 or
sometimes.
13, so I wasn't like that far ahead of you. I was like, wait, what do you mean? Like, I just thought that there was like a black cat, at least just like I mean, obviously, I knew the cat can't talk. I wasn't like that crazy, but I'm just like, I thought at least there was a real cat on set at some point.
There is in some scenes, and obviously I'm making a huge joke because you can totally tell that's an animatronic cat, but like still. Well, back to the dance. Xander and Ampada arrive. Willow seeing them, looking at her outfit compared to Ampada's. Like she literally looks at Ampada and then looks down at herself. She's like, fuck. I was like, you didn't do that when you were looking at Cordelia, but also Cordelia was insulting her when she walked by. And she was pondering maybe she should have worn something sexy, as you already said. They arrive at Willow's table. Ampada is nice to Willow, also, though, telling her that she loves her authentic costume, and she's being really authentic in the moment. She asks where Buffy is, and oh my god, in this moment, too, she turns like she's Batman in the Batsuit because she can't crane her neck to the side, left or right. So she like turns her whole body to look like, where's Buffy? And like, it's just really funny. You have to watch it if you know, you know.
Jacket, basically.
She, literally. And this is where I wrote my comment about, you know, that bitch is hot in that shit, like temperature hot, sweating up a storm.
Hell yeah.
So I'm happy that we both arrived at that point. Giles arrives at Buffy's house in our next scene to tell her about the bodyguard being found in the girls' room at the school. So yes, that did happen. Okay. I thought I knew. I couldn't remember how it came up because I know Buffy ended up with Giles at some point, but he was found mummified. Buffy's curious as to why the guard was killed by the mummy, him stating it was his job to make sure that the mummy didn't awaken. And then we get our second wig watch here when the dots are connected by Buffy saying that Ampada was wiggy by the seal, saying that she should go look through her shit. Giles commenting on why a girl would pack boys' clothes once they're up there digging through all the stuff, leading them to find the real dead Ampada in the trunk, you know, after Buffy effortlessly just rips the lock off of it. It's giving Locker in the puppet show. And then she makes the comment to Giles. She's like, the kind of girl who travels with a mummified corpse and doesn't even pack a lipstick. Kiss ass, yes. We flash back to the Bronze where Dingo's Ate My Baby perform a song. And fun fact, that's actually by a real band that's called 4-Star Mary. And the song is called Fate. So any songs that we see in the future that Dingo's Ate My Baby are performed are actually dubbed over for them. And it's the real tracks from 4-Star Mary posing as the band. But this is important for a future episode. The fact that this song specifically comes up. I know you won't really remember the song, but wanted to put it out there for you. Okay. I'll circle back. Xander and Ampada go out to dance to the song, and Willow watches them go off to dance, and it is a cute scene of them locking hands. You know, you feel bad for Ampada and happy for her experiencing this moment, honestly, because you remember that she, you know, is a mummy girl, but in a monster and a killer. So you're like, okay, I can't like pull myself out of this too much to feel bad for her, but it is what it is. Anywho, in the middle of performing, Oz and Devin have a conversation about who's that girl, and he thinks that he means 𝙘𝑚𝑃𝒂, but then he clarifies, no, the Eskimo. He's like star-stricken by this fucking costume. He's just like, that's the one for me. Like, this girl looks fucking dope. She's banging, she's hot, she's an icon, she's a legend, she is the moment. And then it gives us the shot of lame, poor looking Willow over there, and like I said, Oz is just mesmerized by her, very entranced.
I was super excited. I was like, yes, I didn't see this coming. I was like, finally, Willow gets to feel, you know, someone have a crush on her instead of her pining after Xander and trying to get over Xander and then not getting over Xander. So I'm just excited to kind of see where this goes, because I'm like, yes, if nothing else, she needs a good distraction / reminder that Xander's not the only guy out there and that there's other options, and it's absolutely time to move on.
Yes, and we don't know what happens yet, so we can't get too excited, but you never know. Maybe it'll be great. Over in Giles's car, Buffy is telling him to put his foot all the way down the gas, and he claims that it is. And you can hear that janky ass car rattling. She's like, bruh. She's like, one day you're going to have to get a grown up car. And he's like, all right, great. Well, if you can help fund me, because I spent all my money on your weapons and your fighting pads, so I can't get a new car right now. He said, Watcher's salary is worse than the librarian's salary. And it apparently has obviously taken them forever to get to the museum. And they also come to the conclusion along this journey that if they reassemble the seal whenever they get there, that they can trap the mummy again, which is the whole point of the whole car ride. At the dance, 𝙘𝑚𝒃𝒂 ends her dance with Xander, leaving him, having noticed that her hand is starting to turn back into a mummy. And she looks around the bronze for a victim to claim, seeing a student sitting on the staircase alone. And we come to learn that this is Jonathan. We get that quick glance over at Sven, also with the girl that Cordy was talking to earlier. And he's speaking very clear and very direct English, but with an accent. He's like ripping on what he's got stuck with, basically mirroring himself as Cordelia. Because he's like, fruity punchy drinky. He's like, is Cordelia even from this country? I'm like, what is going on? I thought that shit was funny as fuck, because he was aware the whole time, and he's just been silently dealing with her shit. He's like, why the fuck is this my life? While Cordelia's like, why the fuck is this my life? If she had actually just not been a bitch and all crazy, her and him could have probably actually been getting along pretty well, and maybe she would have liked his, like, all the things that she was chalking him up to be in the beginning. She missed her chance.
Yeah, totally.
But
she didn't give him a chance. She was like, no.
And you know what? I'm going to point it out, because I hadn't seen it the whole episode whenever they were in the damn bronze. Cordelia ain't seen by the stage Oakland Devon at all the whole time. We don't even see her again except talking to her friends and walking around. So, like, Cordelia, why are you even here at this point?
True.
Well, back behind some curtains somewhere in the bronze, 𝙘𝑚𝒃𝒂 has Jonathan now, and she's acting all sexy with him, removing his cowboy hat, and he's stimulated as fuck, because he's like, oh hell, this is my chance. He calls out her rough feeling hands, and it reminded me of Xander saying to Miss French whenever he was like, your hands feel serrated. Like, all these callbacks are
the same thing.
giving me life. And he calls her out on being with Xander, and she ignores him, leaning in for that kiss, and she's like, does it look like I'm with Xander? And I'm like, oh shit, man, Jonathan, you just lucked out, but you're also about to get killed. When Xander finds them, though, and he calls out to her, spooking Jonathan off, and I guess he doesn't see Jonathan run out this room, and he finds her. And of course, also, aka, he saves the fuck out of Jonathan's ass right here, because Jonathan was about to be another 500-year-old mummified motherfucker. He wonders what was wrong with her on the dance floor, and she cries to him that she is very happy, but also very sad. It's a secret, right? If you told me, you'd have to kill me. And she's like, oh, like, because he makes that quote to her, and she like collapses into him. And honestly, she probably thought he was like catching on, because she can't pick up context clues to a conversation, because there's that language barrier in a way. You know what I mean? Just like it's not a language barrier, but it's a barrier.
Catch it innuendo or whatever. So she's probably like, oh shit.
It's just like, yes, you've caught me.
He's on to me.
I'm so sorry. But she takes this too literally, getting more upset. And he's literally always speaking exactly what's going on, first of all, because that's what happened earlier. He calls it a bad joke, and the two get intimate and start making out, though. And her not drawing from him at first, but then her impulse is taken, and she starts to drain his body, aka his life force energy, but stops herself, which is really nice. I'm like, okay, she didn't want to kill Xander. She's like, I gotta find this elsewhere. And she leaves him laying there gasping for air, because he was literally about to start like doing whatever that thing is whenever the draining shit happens.
The reason.
I was like, she apologizes to him. She's like, sorry. And then she just leaves the room, and Xander's like, like, okay. I want to say poor Xander, but also I'm just like moving along.
Like, this pose is problematic for your future if you're just going to be like left barely there every time you make out with your girlfriend.
Lich. She's like Rogue from X-Men, honestly. I see the parallel now. 'Cause that's what Rogue does when you touch her skin, she like sucks your life force energy out. I wonder if she can do it any other way. Like, does she have to kiss them? Is it because the kiss is eternal? Or could she like place a hand on them and like focus in on the energy? I'm sure she could redirect the
I
power if
think
she
she has
wanted.
to, like, physically suck the life force out of them is what it seems like
Oh, she's
physically into
pulling the
her
air
body.
into her. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Anyways, that's not the strangest thing that's happened in this town, so I'm going to go with that.
True.
We go back over to the museum and Giles is gluing the seal together. Ampata senses that and leaves Xander to go to it. And I'm like, Buffy's now at the bronze. Giles dropped her off and she's looking for Xander and questions Willow on this, saying that he's somewhere with Ampata. Buffy telling her of the fact that Ampata is the mummy. And Willow's like, oh, good. And then she's like, oh, wait, bad. Xander.
Initially, her jealousy was instantly diffused, though. So she was like, ah, yes. And then she's like, wait, never mind. Still a threat of death.
Yes. Speaking of threats of death, they moved to go look backstage to make sure Xander's not dead somewhere because that's where she last saw them. And just as Oz was about to speak to Willow too, he misses his opportunity and then he's just like, who is that girl? Xander looks alerted in the back room where they find him and he's like, boy, that was some kiss. Really took the life out of him, if you know what I mean. He needs a moment to recoup. Buffy asks where Ampata is, and he says that she said something about the seal, and then they realize that they need to head that way instantly, helping Xander get up to walk, saying that they can tell him about it on the way. And he's got no clue what's going on, obviously. And I was like, I want to see the scene of them telling him and see his reaction to attracting yet again another monstrous woman. He's got to be like, shut the fuck up right now. Giles, still working on the final pieces, closed in on by Ampata, who grabs him and the plate, tossing it to the side, smashing it into like, that thing is gone. There ain't no way.
I felt so bad for him.
That thing, it looks like the master's bones with the sledgehammer at this point. There is no putting those pieces back together. It's done for, which is probably exactly why she dies the way she does in a little bit, because the seal's not there to keep her sealed in that one specific zone of like mummification, because
Yeah.
obviously we see what happens to her. I was like, I got so mad though because he was almost done gluing that last piece together, and
He
he's
literally
even
wasn't he
saying
like
it.
said it? Didn't he say like the last piece? And then she's like, nah, bitch.
I would have got mad because that's a lot of wasted ass energy. That's just like us having to go back and re-record a whole episode again. Not fun. And then she attempts to steal Giles' life force energy, and Buffy calls out from behind her.
I'll say one thing for you Incan mummies. You know, kiss and tell.
Buffy jumps from the floor all the way up to the exhibit, a feat that no human could possibly and easily do. Fist up in the fighting stance that we like to see. And Ampata is like,
Looks like you've been keeping secrets from me.
she's like, you are not a normal girl. And Buffy stating, and you are, swinging at her with the leg to kick her and freeing Giles from her grasp. The two battle for a bit, and Ampata dodges one of Buffy's moves, flipping her over into the stone coffin that was holding the mummy before her hand, closing the large lid on her as well. And I'm just like, damn, she just folds that shit over. And then Willow comes running in the room, and she's grabbed by Ampata completely off guard and immediately, who is now going to suck Willow dry. No, not Willow. Go get somebody else. Like, what are you doing? And like anything to live at this point, though. Because she's friends with Willow. So she's like, nah, fuck it. I'm done with this. I want Xander only. And Xander appears saying to let Willow go. She wants to be with him, though, so he should let her have just this one. He claims that will not be happening. I mean, because duh, it's Willow. And I love Xander for this because he's not about to let anything bad happen to her. He even offers up his own life. And whatever.
He's like, I'll sacrifice myself.
Which he does. If she doesn't do it, though, it's the end for her, she states, before moving back to kiss Willow. And I'm just like, we love a bisexual mummy. Xander knocks her away and says that she will have to take his. Can she do that? And Ampata thinks about it for all of 2 seconds and is like, yes, I can definitely do this. And she starts to grab Xander and perform her suck job on him. And Buffy struggles with the lid for a moment and then tosses it off because we hear her like boom, 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 and hops out to grab Ampata, who is now turning back into her mummy form full force, pulling her away from Xander as she just instantly dies and withers away, ripping her body off at the shoulders, and her arms stay behind, gripping onto Xander, and he's just holding them. I was like, ugh. And then he wigs out and he drops him to the floor, and Buffy drops Ampata's body as it falls to the floor and smashes into a few dusty pieces. I was like, whew, well, that mummy ain't coming back to life. Ampata is no more. She ain't hearing shit no more. She ain't gonna be seeing stuff on her travels. That's it. They gonna have to put all this stuff back in the exhibit, though, because we're all these museum workers. Is the museum closed? How did they get in there?
They might be closed. Everybody got fired for letting the mummy escape.
Sunnydale needs to be named to Plot Hole Dale. Like,
True.
either way, 𝙘's gone. I'm sorry, Courtney. I know you really liked her.
I did, but I will point out that for me, the best part was that that's turned into a 0K per slay because she was a mummy already and instantly turned to dust, no weapons required or anything. Like they were just like, dust her.
I wonder what that prop was that they used that fell and cracked in the sand in pieces and all that stuff, because it wasn't full on shatter. It just broke into like weird pieces. She looked uglier as fuck than she did when she was in the like coffin, or when she like walked up to 𝙘 and he saw her for the first time. Like whenever she was like,
It was like Xana on a
whenever
good
she
day
was,
and Xana on a bad day.
whenever she was struggling on Xander, she's like trying to like get up to his face and stuff, and I'm just like, girl, like you need some lip balm, you need Carmex cream, you need everything. Like
You
you
need
need a
some
hot,
Nivea
you
all
need a
over your body.
she needs a fucking rubbed and wrapped at Urban Nirvana, like all the
Not at the
things.
herbs.
Well, Willow moves over to console Xander. The gang get together and leave the exhibit, leading us to the next day at school, where Xander and Buffy walk and not talk because he doesn't have much to say. Not very fun talky guy, he says. He does mention that he has the worst taste in women in the world, and we're like, yes, we know. Oh, except not really, because he likes Buffy and she's great taste, but whatever. We get the joke. Buffy tries to vouch for 𝙘 the best ways that she can to make Xander feel better, and Buffy compares her actions whenever she heard about the prophecy of her death, noting that she wasn't the best at decision making initially then either, so she kind of puts her in the same category with 𝙘 for not making the best judgment call in those moments. And Xander saying, but she did, and she gave up her life. Buffy replying, and she had him to bring her back. And I guess here is where we actually get a sort of thank you for saving my life moment. It's almost like a closure, because even though she didn't physically say thank you, she brings it up again and said that she's thankful to the fact that he brought her back. Buffy and Xander share a smile, and they walk off out of sight. We fade to black, and here endeth the episode. Now, we do have some metaphor for this one, and it's a small little bit of something. Our overall metaphor is the chosen one. 𝙘 is chosen just like Buffy, paralleling the two throughout the whole episode. Xander's instant attraction to her, 𝙘's desires of being a normal girl with a normal life, aka she is Buffy to the T in theory. We see 𝙘, though, in this case as both a victim and stand-in for Buffy's situation. 𝙘's guardian even clearly states that she is the chosen one, you have no choice. Same with Buffy. She's trapped with a destiny that will kill her. It has. Hemmed in by a guardian, aka Giles, perhaps being seen obviously as Giles because it's the same comparison. That's her guardian, but better seen as her conscious or super ego if we go on the whole, psych version of this, who is forcing her to fulfill her destiny, because that's the same thing that the guardian does for 𝙘. He's like, no, this is what you were chosen for. This is what you have to ultimately do and stand for, and you have to just be okay with that. And that's like Buffy's chosen status all in a nutshell. 𝙘 kills off her guardian too, and is released from the fears and restraints, and is able to just be a danger to everyone at that point too. Buffy feels resentment over her restraint, but if she were to escape them, it could be deadly, because obviously if she gets out of her stuff, then that's not going to play out very well for her. But we saw how that happened the last time. And this just helps also to reinforce Buffy is still committed to the path of adulthood as well. And there are going to be diversions and distractions for her along the way, because that was 𝙘's diversion and distraction, coming back to life and then choosing against what she was chosen for and all that. And it didn't play out well for her, because now she's a dusty, musty corpse on the ground. But yeah, but that's pretty much all I have for metaphor. I got it obviously as usual from Mark Field's book, but sum it up, it's the chosen one. We saw those parallels all across the whole episode with Buffy and 𝙘, and it pretty much wraps it up neatly, and basically just helps, like I said in the beginning, to kind of continuate the story of Buffy and where she's at in her Slayer journey. And I even made some comments along the way about how she's taking charge and being okay with this stuff, whereas she would usually I mean, even though she has her moments where she's like, Giles, I do want to go to the thing and blah, blah, blah. But then she just it's very self-sacrificing in the library when she's like, I have canceled plans. She just accepts it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, totally.
it pulls in that theme of acceptance from last season. And it's like Buffy is now just okay with these things, whereas she would have bitched about them for a lot longer previously.
Oh, yeah.
Some fun facts this time. Dingo's Ate My Baby is a reference to an Australian baby murder case where a woman claimed a dingo had taken her baby. Eventually, she was charged for the murder. A movie called A Cry in the Dark was based on this as well, and it starred Meryl Streep. But I read this whole situation where this woman lied for forever about this whole thing, and then it eventually was found that she had been negligent with her child and killed the child and then disposed of the body and all this other stuff. So that's oddly enough where the fucking thing came from. I went on this rabbit hole after I read it. I was like, oh my God, I didn't want to write about it and take up too much time.
Now I
But
want to watch that Meryl Streep movie.
same, we should watch it together.
Yes.
The storyline was taken from a National Geographic article about the discovery of an adolescent girl mummy at the summit of Nevada, Ampato, and that's where the name came from, Ampada. It comes from the Spanish word amparar, which means to defend, which is very
Mm.
interesting in place that they chose that name. The Inca princess was based on the mummy Juanita, discovered in 95 on the dormant volcano Amparo, located in Peru. So they
Oh,
kind of
shit.
played the storyline off of that, like every element that they found about that mummy and shit. Parts of the plot are based off the original 1932 Mummy movie and even mirrors the one from our generation, like I was saying, that came after this with Brendan Fraser, with the mummy stealing the life force of people to make himself look human again. Touch base on that in the beginning, but I forgot I had it in the fun facts. Danny Strong, who plays Jonathan, he originally auditioned for the role of Xander whenever the show was first coming out, and I'll have more to give on that later. Into Every Generation by Ross Katz. There's a few pages where Danny Strong talks about some stuff from the show that I want to bring back up later, but they go into it and talk about him reading for the role of Xander and not getting it. And then later they called him back because they had come up with the instance for him to portray the role of Jonathan. Seth Green and Allison Hannigan previously appeared in a film called My Stepmother Was an Alien when they were kids. I've actually not seen the movie, but I've seen images that they've both posted on their social medias over the years and tag each other in it and stuff, which was really cute because obviously
That's
we
cute.
see
I
where
didn't
we're,
know that.
yeah, and they're super adorable when they were kids. Seth Green looks like the cutest little boy in the world. I'm just like, oh, I want him to be my
Oh, they were like
son.
kids,
They were like
like,
kids.
yeah.
They're like
Oh.
under 10,
Oh, shit.
or
Oh.
maybe around that age. They're like Nixon and Aubrey's age, maybe even a couple years younger. Yeah.
I kinda wanna see it.
All right, that'll be our other movie that we're going to be watching.
Alright.
Everyone go watch My Stepmother Was an Alien. Let's see. Oh, and also Seth Green had an uncredited role in the original Buffy movie. He's in it and he plays one of the, I think, one of the vampires that's like outside the window, or he's like just I can't remember because it's been a while since I've seen the movie, but he has a small, very, like I said, uncredited role in the movie. Like his name is not even in the titles.
Like an extra or something.
And not even that way. I mean, he actually has like a little scene that he's in the movie, like playing around. I think he's a fucking
Oh,
vampire, honestly. And I think he's floating outside some windows with some people
that's
because
crazy.
vampires can fly in the Buffy movie or like float and hover. Very Dracula-esque. But I thought it was interesting too because it also notates that he's the only person from the original movie to appear in the show, but as a new character, obviously,
Wow.
because he's Oz.
Yeah.
And the final one is that there is no angel this episode, aka no vampires either. So this is one of those episodes where we just don't see a vampire at all, and the show is called Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So, one little thing. Either way, what an episode. Again, I usually always enjoy this one. It's fun to have the podcast to discuss it in a different way this time around. I'm noticing that I'm enjoying this rewatch of season 2 more than I ever have before. I've enjoyed just the 3 episodes that we've recorded, and I know we've got so much to look forward to. But this one specifically is great because of all the themes that we got to discuss for everyone. And there was a lot going on between like Xander and Ampada, Willow's little mini addition to her arc over here, because we get a little bit of character development with her. And we also get, like we keep saying, breadcrumbed into like the introduction of Oz and seeing that he's going to possibly take a chance on asking Willow out if he ever gets the words out to speak to her.
If he ever gets to introduce himself.
Yeah, and then I keep saying it too with Buffy. I was just really surprised that she was on her game this episode more than anything. She really didn't make the huge fuss about attending the dance and just stepped back into that role of Slayer with understanding, and also was very helpful to Ampada before she knew everything. She didn't want that person to come into her house, but once she was there, she was just like, let me help you like figure out the ways to live the way that I live without me showing you how to be a vampire slayer. Kind of changing that, which means that this episode had to be some deep ass work for Buffy, trying to like keep her secret, deal with all this stuff, and then also invite this girl into her house. And like before she came over to my house, I would have had to like move my stakes into a trunk and locked it myself. But yeah,
I really enjoyed this episode for a good filler episode. It was one of the times that in a filler episode, I didn't question even that we didn't see any vampires or that theme was missing until the episode had ended. And I was reflecting back on it and I was like, wait, we didn't see Angel, we didn't see Spike and Drew's, which they just freshly introduced. So I was
yeah.
like, dang, that, like, that really got my attention good if I didn't even realize it till way after it was over. And I'm like looking through my notes. I'm like, there ain't no Angel, there's no vampires, like at all. But it was really, really entertaining and I loved it a lot. And I liked all the jokes that were thrown in. It was a good, lighthearted filler episode.
Next week we do with another Monster of the Week episode as well, which
Ooh, nice.
helps cycle us into our final slays.
Final Slays.
Yeah. That was my Christina Aguilera version of Final Slays. It's like Christina Aguilera would have been like, oh, you know.
You are right.
Anyways, my quote is Willow calling out Xander at the beginning over Rodney about how that time he beat you up for 5 years. Like, that comment is just, it sent me over the roof laughing whenever I had to pause it and everything because it was just really funny. That poor kid beat Xander up for 5 fucking years and now he's salty about it. And Willow just being her innocent little self just brings it up and exposes him like she's the queen of this type of shit. You would never expect the stuff that comes out of Willow's mouth to come out of Willow's mouth.
Basically, like, ripped the bandage off of his trauma and exposed it again. He's like, yes, I want to think about the years I got bullied and tormented. My quote this week was when Cordy, I don't even remember who the fuck she was talking to, but she was like, they don't even speak American. I was like, bitch, you mean English?
Oh man, that's what ignorance and living in this country will do to you, honestly. That much has not changed to this day, I will say. Because
You
people
are
still
right
speak
about
that way.
that.
Yes, perfect.
But also, I did have a good Willow quote that I jotted down. It didn't make my quote of the week, but it was just like enough to be a noted quote, which is when she was like, but I didn't choose yet. Or I didn't decide yet, whatever she said when Buffy was like, good for you.
Yeah, I like that moment. My shining slayer was the concept of time. Since Ampada ran out of time, no one technically defeated her. So I'm just going to say the fact that they like were wasting time at the very end that led to her disintegration. They just got the right amount of time with keeping her off of Xander. So time was the shining slayer.
Time was the shining slayer. I would give it to Xander because he was so quick to sacrifice himself to have the mummy release her hold on Willow because he saw instantly what was going to happen there, you know, and obviously at this point Xander's fully caught up, knows what the fuck's going on, knows that that wasn't like the best kiss he ever had and that he literally just almost died. And I don't know if he did that as like a manipulation tactic in a way, like knowing full force that like she's in love with him, so she might at least think about not doing it, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that was pretty brave of him to just be like, no, you can suck the life out of me if you want, but we're
Right.
not keeping Willow.
All right, Weekly Wiggins.
Mine's super easy, which is the last scene where this bitch's crusty ass arms are stuck on Xander after Buffy pulls her damn entire like torso and everything else off, and her arms are just dangling there like little raisins. And I was like, no, why does that need to be in this? Like, you could have just straight thrown her on the ground. She would have turned into dust anyway. Like, you had to leave her arms dangling there lingering.
Listen, I'm just going to read out my Weekly Wiggins to you so you can just get this. I'm so happy that you went first. Xana's arms at the end being attached to Xander. JK for real, though. The fact that this dead mummy is technically the one kissing all these people, ain't brushed her teeth in 500 years. This mummy is my Weekly Wiggins. So we basically have the same thing, but I got the addition of the fact when she kisses Ampada, and she puts her crusty, nasty, at least when she kisses Jonathan and everybody else, like the Guardian, she's a person again, and she's like got actual meat on her body. But Ampada got the shit show of this. Like, we need to have a feel bad section in the final slays for him this episode. But we're moving on to Slayerette predictions.
Okay, tell me.
All right, I have 2. Oz taking notice to Willow. What do you think is going to happen with that?
Oh my gosh. Well, if he ever gets himself to the point of actually having a damn conversation with her, then I would hope that it would transpire into something along the lines of a love interest. And that's what obviously I think it's alluding to, just based on his reaction to Willow simply standing there in an Eskimo jacket. I'm like, I have never seen somebody freak out like that over a person just standing there fully covered, cloaked head to toe. Like, all you can see is Willow's little face peering through like a tiny window. And he's like, who's that? I'm like, dang, someone's obsessed.
Yes, I love it. We'll see if you're right.
I guess so.
I guess we'll see. Classic one. Our next episode is our 5th episode, and it is called Reptile Boy.
Oh, no. Well, I feel like that speaks pretty clearly for itself, and somebody is a reptile.
There you go.
Somebody's going to get eaten.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully it's Principal Snyder. It's his turn. Am I getting all of this right? No, I'm just kidding. If this all happens, I'm gonna die.
No, but it's so interesting how sometimes you just say something that totally is applicable to something later and like in different ways on all the times that you like
You'll
are.
have to clip all the parts I make sense on accident and then merge them together so you can be like, this is proof that Courtney is a psychic without
Listen,
knowing
I
it.
have a section in my saved documents called Buffy callbacks because there's a lot of times there's callbacks. I'm going to start putting those in there for you. So I've got that one that you said about Principal Snyder and they're getting eaten by the reptile thing. And then you said one earlier too about something and I was just like, oh, just wait. Well, I hope you all enjoyed listening to our coverage and rewatch of Inca Mummy Girl. Thanks so much for tuning in. What do you guys think of this one? What do you think of another girl turning out to be a monster that's having 𝑔𝒂💂 as for Xander? Write in and let us know, along with who you would award Shining Slayer and what gave you guys the weekly wigs. Until then, we will catch you guys for episode 5 next week back here in Sunnydale.
I wasn't gonna use violence. I don't always use violence. Do I?
The important thing is you believe that.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Buffy on Revamped. Remember to join us next week for a new episode release as we continue our journey through Sunnydale. We also would like to hear from you, so share your thoughts. Discuss with us your perspectives on this or previous week's episodes by following us on Instagram and sending us a DM at revamped_rewatch podcast.
Or by emailing us at revampedrewatchpod@gmail.com. Additionally, we will be choosing one of your messages to shout out in an upcoming episode release. And don't forget, if you're looking for a friend and some unsolicited advice for the times when life feels out of orbit, go follow Life in Retrograde Podcast on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.
Until next time, the Earth is definitely doomed. This podcast is dedicated to the Buffyverse, to its fans, and my sister, Tiffany Dawn Pearson.